There's no denying more and more of us are struggling to get by. Rising interest rates, low wage growth and inflation are putting unprecedented pressure on families and forcing many to make tough decisions.
There's no quality of life for me anymore, and when I'm trying to provide quality of life for others. You ready?
Yeah.
You're gonna lift your foot.
Okay.
There we go. And I'm trying to spend time with my own family. I can't do that.
Teresa Hetherington is a home care worker in the outer suburbs of Newcastle. She earns $27 an hour. Most days she's lucky to get a regular shift. Getting around to her heavily dependent clients is critical, but her irregular and unreliable hours means her car has become her second home.
The back seat actually has a blanket and a pillow which is there all the time. I'm exhausted, physically and mentally exhausted, so I will nap while I'm sitting, recline the seat, catch 15 to 20 minutes sleep.
And the cost of fuel and other expenses means her dream job of 2 decades is now unsustainable.
I now have to choose between whether or not I'm going to use that last little bit of fuel to continue working or whether I'm going to ring in sick for a couple of days because I can't afford to put petrol in my car to go to work.
Like many households in New South Wales, balancing the family budget is getting harder. Even with both her and her husband working, their joint incomes don't go far enough.
Caleb!
Now, in her 50s, she's had to take up another job.
You got to work tonight?
Yeah.
We simply can't function without having something else there to try and boost our incomes. And in a booming sector, it's insulting. Having to do secondary employment, having to juggle those hours. I now have no life, but we're also financially strapped and just getting by. On top of that, it's not going to last in the long term. We can't do it.
Personal finances are front of mind for most voters, with the cost of living crisis the biggest issue this election.
Honestly, I don't think I'll be able to, unless things change dramatically, I don't think I'll be able to stay where I'm living.
Small business owner Andy Leonard is a single dad working 5 different jobs in Sydney's inner west. He works 40 to 90 hours a week to help pay off his debts. The majority of his earnings goes towards his mortgage, and come the end of the year, his fixed rate will expire.
That's frankly terrifying, you know, to come up with an extra $820 a week. That's at today's rate. Every sort of program or incentive that state governments put in, it doesn't even scratch the surface. Good, let's try it again. Every note is the same length, so.
Andy manages to squeeze in quality time with his son Orlando in between jobs. But he fears he may even have to compromise on that.
Almost. I do worry with the cost of living that at some point I'll have to work even more and spend less time with him, which is, you know, not really what I want to do at all. Is it gills, fins or tails? What do they breathe through?
Real incomes are going backwards across the state, struggling to keep up with rising inflation. 5 of the hardest hit suburbs are in Western Sydney, where the major parties will fight for several key seats. Fairfield tops the list, recording the lowest income growth in the state. Here, they've only gone up 12% in the past 5 years. In Blacktown, families are also struggling.
No, you need to cut that bill. What worries me the most is how long we're gonna pay this credit card, because it keeps adding and adding and adding. The life here now, it's getting really tough.
Lani is a school cleaner from Doonside and living off a credit card.
We only pay the minimum amount because we can't afford to pay the amount that we want to pay because the wage is not enough.
Her husband is a cleaner too, but with not enough hours, she's the main breadwinner on $22 an hour, working gruelling morning and afternoon shifts.
I don't eat dinner. I'm looking forward for sleep, not to put something in my stomach because it's really exhausting.
Rent increases and cutbacks at work have only made life more difficult. She can no longer afford to send money to her family in the Philippines, and flying home for her brother's funeral is out of the question.
Salary is the problem because we are really underpaid, so it's time for the government to listen. We are unheard because we are cleaners. We are unheard, and we deserve respect.
We want a government that actually walks the walk instead of talks the talk. I don't want a pat on the head. I don't want a voucher. I want reforms.
Reforms that deliver what many voters want most of all, some let up in the rising cost of living.